then I'm going to recognize the goodness in me and like the great person that I am. And then I'm going to recognize, were there any pieces that maybe weren't aligned for me in this relationship, and understand that that's probably why it didn't work out, rather than what your story is. I'm never
Mhm.
chosen, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then really investigate. So then what are those things, right?
Mhm.
I think a lot of it is I think it's but it's a lot of not wanting to feel the things. So we distract ourselves with the victim mentality. We get all this
Mhm.
attention from others. Oh,
Yep.
so and so, they weren't chosen, as opposed to really just feeling the pain in that.
Mhm.
A lot of times, do you think it's avoidance of pain?
Definitely think at the end of it, it's all about, like you said, self-protection. Like, we don't like to feel rejected. We don't like to feel disappointed. We don't like to feel hurt and pain. And, oftentimes even, oftentimes we don't know that we can even handle it, or that, that we can feel it and eventually it'll be okay. So it's easier just to say, oh, I'm never the one. Like, I'm never picked, because it's almost like a self then fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Excellent point.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I was going, as I'm thinking about all of this, is um, it is ingrained from us. And I'll go back to what Holly said about telling our stories. When we were young, when we were little kids, we would tell our stories to everyone. We would play around and smile and be joyful and just be exactly with what is. And until those times we were told not to do something, or, oh my God, you're embarrassing us. Oh no, you can't do that. Once we get into these social circles, whether it be our immediate family or even in school, we stop telling our story. We start playing into society's ways that limit us, which then leads to our own limiting beliefs. And so it's so grained in so many of us, even institutionalized to some degree. And so when we think about those limiting beliefs, yes, it is for protection, but that protection probably comes from years and years of being conditioned to not tell our story and not own our story about who we are. Which is why we get to the folks who, well, I'm not enough. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too overweight, whatever that is. They're all limiting beliefs that came from not being accepted for who you are in the original story that you started to tell people. And being the youngest member of my family, that happened all the time. You can't
Mhm.
do this thing, you're too little, and
Yeah.
so we none of us can really evolve it unless you're like, that guy Bodie Miller who lived in the woods. And he grew up in the woods, and he became an Olympic skier because he just never had any limitations put on him ever. He
Yeah.
had, very granola parents that said, go ahead, do. And and the thing that's so um, upsetting about that is, like, we learn from our failures. We learn from trying and not actually making it happen. So all this protection that we're used to, either our parents protected us too much or we protected ourselves too much, it's limiting also our growth. So those
Mhm.
limiting beliefs lead directly to a limitation of your own personal growth.